What if the moment Earth's greatest heroes detected a new presence, they already lost and didn't even know it yet? The warning didn't arrive as an explosion or an invasion. It came as silence, a sudden, unnatural quiet that rippled through the watchtower's senses like a held breath. Batman noticed it first, because he always did, a data spike without a source, a gravitational anomaly that corrected itself too perfectly, a signature that behaved less like physics and more like intention. Somewhere beyond Earth's orbit, something had arrived and it wanted to be seen only when it chose to be. 30 seconds later, every screen in the watchtower went black, not hacked, not destroyed, simply overwritten. A voice filled the station, calm, regal, unapologetically superior. Justice League of Earth, I am Dr. Victor Von Doom. Your world is now relevant. Superman was already moving before the words finished, echoing, eyes glowing, senses reaching across space. He felt it then, the pressure, not weakness, resistance, as if reality itself was being held in a clenched fist, just beyond his reach. Wonder Woman gripped her sword, instincts screaming not of war, but of judgment. Green Lantern's ring flared, spitting warning glyphs it had never shown before. Even the ring didn't understand what it was seeing. Batman said nothing. His jaw tightened, because Doom hadn't just announced himself. He had bypassed every defense, every contingency, every secret protocol Bruce Wayne had buried, even from his teammates. That meant only one thing. This wasn't a conqueror testing defenses. This was a king evaluating assets. Doom's image finally appeared, towering armored, cloaked in sovereign green. Not floating in space, not projected from a ship. He stood somewhere impossibly vast and impossibly close, as if the universe itself had stepped aside to make room for him. I have observed your league, Doom continued, hands clasped behind his back. Your gods, your symbols, your endless cycles of chaos and repair. You are powerful and inefficient. Flash tried to joke. His mouth opened. No sound came out. Time around him slowed. Nod stopped. Just, discouraged. Doom's eyes flicked toward him, mildly curious, like a scientist noticing an insect had learned to run. Batman finally spoke. You're in our space. State your intent. Doom smiled beneath the mask. Not mockery, pity. I have come to save this universe from itself, and to determine whether the Justice League will kneel, or be removed. The watchtower shuddered not from attack, but from reality recalibrating. Far below, on Earth, ancient magic stirred. In Atlantis, senses screamed. On Apocalypse, Darkseid turned his head, frowning for the first time in centuries. Because Dr. Doom hadn't crossed universes by accident. He had come here because this universe was ripe for rule. And somewhere deep in Batman's mind, a single terrifying realization formed. Doom wasn't afraid of the Justice League. He was disappointed in them. What if the Justice League's first mistake wasn't he underestimating Dr. Doom but trying to understand him at all? Batman replayed the transmission frame by frame, slowing it down to nanoseconds, searching for compression artifacts, extra-dimensional bleed, anything that could explain how Doom had spoken through every system at once. There was nothing, no signal, no carrier wave. It was as if the watchtower itself had decided to listen. That terrified him more than an invasion fleet ever could. Superman stood at the viewport, eyes narrowed, scanning the void where Doom's presence had faded. He could hear heartbeats on Earth. He could hear tectonic plates grinding beneath oceans. But whatever Doom was, wherever he was now, it existed just beyond Superman's senses, as if the universe itself were politely closing a door. I don't like this, Flash finally said, his voice back, time snapping into place around him. I mean, I don't like Darkseid either, but at least he does the whole boom tubes and punching thing. This guy, he talked, it's worse. Wonder Woman turned from the holotable, her expression grim. He spoke as gods speak in the old myths, not with rage, with certainty. That kind of confidence is born only from victory or destiny. Green Lantern clenched his fist, the ring projecting defensive schematics instinctively. The Guardians are silent. I pinged OA the second he appeared. No response. It's like they're being deliberately ignored. Batman's eyes flicked to Howl, or overridden. Before anyone could respond, the watchtower's alarms blared again, not a breach, but an alert cascading across every system simultaneously. Magical, technological, cosmic, all triggered at once. Cyborg's voice crackled through the comms from Earth. Ah, League, you might want to see this. Every major power hub on the planet, just synchronized. Lotvarian tech signatures. But that's impossible. Latveria doesn't exist here. On screen, cities across Earth glowed as invisible networks snapped into place. Power grids stabilized. Traffic congestion eased. Crime prediction algorithms began running without authorization, rerouting police before crimes occurred. Wars paused not because leaders chose peace, but because their weapons simply wouldn't fire. Lex Luthor stared at his dead screens in Metropolis, fury boiling behind his eyes. He didn't conquer us, he whispered. He optimized us. In Nemisira, ancient wards, flared, then recalibrated, rewritten by magic, older and colder than the Olympians remembered. In Atlantis, pressure fields adjusted, protecting districts Aquaman had lost centuries ago. Even Arkham Asylum went silent as every cell locked into a state of perfect containment. Superman felt it then, a shift. Not oppression, not fear, relief. Humanity exhaled as if a weight it had carried forever had been lifted without asking permission. That's the danger, Batman said quietly, watching approval ratings spike worldwide for an entity no one had seen. He's not taking freedom away. He's making it irrelevant. A new transmission cut in, this time targeted, not global, just them. Doom stood in a vast hall of stone and circuitry, banners of green and silver hanging like judgment itself. He did not look hurried. He looked patient. You see now, Doom said. No armies, no terror, only results. Your world is already safer than it has ever been under your protection. Superman stepped forward. You don't get to decide that. Doom's gaze hardened, finally acknowledging him fully. I have decided far greater things than this, son of Krypton. The only question that remains is whether you will obstruct progress out of pride, or stand aside and let history improve. Batman leaned into the mic. And if we don't, for the first time, Doom's voice carried something close to warning. Then I will demonstrate the difference between heroes who react and a ruler who plans. The transmission ended. On Earth, people cheered a miracle they didn't understand. In the Watchtower, the League stood in silence, realizing the unthinkable truth. Dr. Doom hadn't attacked them because he didn't need to. He had already won the opening move. What if the Justice League realized too late that Dr. Doom's greatest weapon wasn't T-power but consent? The first protest against Doom's influence didn't happen in the streets. It happened in the Watchtower. We shut him down. Now, Green Lantern snapped, slamming his fist into the holly table. I don't care how clean his systems look. He's hijacked the planet, and if pulling the plug collapses everything he's holding together, Batman replied, eyes never leaving the cascading data streams. Hospitals are running on his algorithms, flood barriers, orbital defenses. You don't rip out a spine without paralyzing the body. Wonder Woman crossed her arms, her voice low. Tyrants have always hidden behind prosperity. The chains are lighter when they are gilded. Superman didn't answer. He was listening, really listening. The world sounded different. Less fear, fewer screams, fewer desperate prayers whispered into the night. Crime rates were plummeting not because of intimidation, but because opportunity itself was vanishing. Doom hadn't forced humanity to behave. He had removed the need for them not to. That's not peace, Superman finally said, though the doubt in his own voice unsettled him. It's dependency. As if summoned by the word, a new presence rippled through the Watchtower. Not Doom this time. Something ancient. Something offended. A boom of thunder cracked through the station as a portal of living lightning tore open, and Zeus himself stepped through, eyes blazing. Behind him, spectral forms of other gods shimmered, Athena, Ares, even Hades, watching with quiet interest. This mortal overreaches, Zeus thundered. He tampers with fate and dominion not his own. Wonder Woman stepped forward instinctively. Father Zeus raised a hand. This Doom binds mortals with law and logic, not worship. That is dangerous. Batman's lips tightened. Gods were involved now, which meant Doom had crossed from geopolitical to existential. Before the League could respond, another portal opened, this one cold, angular, edged with crackling energy. Darkseid emerged, Omega eyes glowing, his massive frame dwarfing even Zeus's presence. Your gods are inefficient, Darkseid rumbled, staring not at the League, but at the empty space where Doom had last appeared. But this Doom, this one understands control. An uneasy silence followed. When Darkseid and Zeus agreed on anything, universes burned. Then Doom's voice returned not from a screen, not from a speaker, but from everywhere at once. Ah, the self-appointed custodians of existence arrive on schedule. Reality folded, and Doom stood among them, untouched by lightning or Omega beams, his armor reflecting divine wrath like candlelight. "You summon gods," Doom continued calmly, "because you mistake power for authority. I possessed neither illusion." Zeus hurled a bolt without warning. It struck Doom square in the chest and vanished, absorbed, analyzed, dismissed. Doom looked almost bored. "I have studied your kind," he said to the gods. "You demand worship yet offer chaos. I offer order and ask nothing." Darkseid smiled. "A slow, terrible thing. You would rule," he said, "not conquer." "Yes," Doom replied, "because conquest breeds rebellion. Stability breeds loyalty." Superman stepped between them. "You're turning the universe into an equation." Doom's gaze softened. "Just a fraction. And you are an anomaly, Superman. A variable sustained by hope. Tell me how many civilizations must collapse before you admit hope is not a system." The ground door, what passed for ground, trembled as Doom raised a single hand. Around Earth, ancient artifacts activated. Mother boxes fell silent. Olympian magic stalled. Even the Speed Force flickered, uncertain. Batman's heart sank. Doom wasn't fighting gods, he was auditing them. And if his calculations were correct, the Justice League weren't the universe's protectors anymore. They were inefficiencies. What if the Justice League discovered that Dr. Doom had already written their defeaters before he ever arrived? Batman was running simulations he never wanted to run. Not combat scenarios, not battle outcomes. He was feeding Doom's global optimizations into predictive models, layering them over every Justice League intervention of the past decade. Alien invasions, magical catastrophes, cosmic resets. Every time the League saved the world, and every time Doom's system produced a quieter outcome, fewer casualties, less collateral damage, no memory wipes, no timelines fractured and stitched back together like scar tissue. Bruce leaned back, the cowl heavy on his shoulders. "He's not reacting to crises," he said quietly. "He's preventing them. Most of them." "That doesn't make him right," Wonder Woman replied, though her voice lacked its usual certainty. On Earth, the world was changing faster now. Governments still existed, but their authority felt ceremonial. Doom's frameworks handled resource distribution, disaster response, even diplomacy. Wars didn't end with treaties, they simply became mathematically impossible. Supply chains refused to support violence. Communications rerouted around escalation. People didn't feel conquered, they felt guided. Superman landed in Kansas at dusk, standing in a field he knew better than any fortress. His mother watched the sunset beside him, hands folded. "The world feels calmer," Martha Kent said gently, like it finally took a deep breath. He swallowed. "Does that scare you?" She smiled sadly. "Peace always scares people who had to fight for it." That night, Doom appeared to him alone, not as a projection, not as an illusion, but physically, standing on the dirt road, without disturbing a single blade of grass. "You chose isolation," Doom said. "Wise. You hear the world too clearly to ignore the truth." Superman didn't raise his fists. "You're replacing choice with comfort." Doom nodded. "Choice is a luxury afforded by stability. I provide the latter so the former may survive." "You didn't ask," Superman said. "I observed," Doom replied, "and I learned." "You inspire, Superman, but inspiration fades. Systems endure." High above, Batman activated a contingency he'd hoped never to use, calling every hero, every ally, every questionable asset he could reach. If Doom truly controlled the systems of reality, then the League needed unpredictability, chaos. The Flash pushed himself harder than ever, tearing through timelines Doom hadn't accounted for. Zatanna and Dr. Fate dug into magic older than order itself. Aquaman rallied forces Doom hadn't optimized because they were too proud to be efficient, and Doom watched it all unfold, already aware. In Latveria that wasn't. Doom stood before a vast temporal map, each Justice League move glowing like a predictable spark. "They will resist," he said to no one. "They must." Resistance validates the necessity of rule. He turned as an alarm chimed, not a threat, but a variable. Batman, a plan branching beyond probability. For the first time since entering this universe, Dr. Doom frowned, because someone had just proven that even perfection could be surprised, and surprise led to war. What if Batman's final contingency against Dr. Doom required the Justice League to become something they swore never to be? The meeting didn't happen in the Watchtower. Doom's influence ran too deep. They're now woven into the station's life support, its gravity, even its orbit. Instead, Batman gathered them in the one place Doom couldn't optimize. The Batcave, ancient stone, analog shadows, systems deliberately outdated, deliberately inefficient. A place built on paranoia, not progress. He's predicting us because we keep acting like heroes, Batman said, projecting a web of branching timelines across the cavern walls. Every noble stand, every moral hesitation, it's all quantifiable. Doom doesn't need to defeat us. He just needs to stay ahead of us. Flash frowned. So what? We start being jerks. No, Batman replied. We start being variables. Wonder Woman stiffened. Explain. Batman hesitated. That alone unsettled them. We can't win this by stopping Doom. We win by forcing him to make a choice he refuses to consider. Superman crossed his arms. And what choice is that? Batman's voice dropped. Failure. Silence swallowed the cave. He believes control prevents collapse. Batman continued. So we create a crisis only he can stop, but one that contradicts his core logic. A disaster that requires trust, not command. Sacrifice, not optimization. You're talking about risking the world, Aquaman said coldly. I am talking about saving it from a future where it no longer belongs to itself. Batman shot back. Even Superman had no answer to that. The plan was madness, a synchronized withdrawal. The League would step back publicly. No rescues, no interventions. Let Doom's system run alone, without heroic correction. Let humanity see the cost of perfection when compassion wasn't manually reintroduced. And Doom noticed immediately. Global projections spiked. Hero absence variables began cascading. Minor events escalated not into chaos, but into something worse. Emotional decay, cultural stagnation. People were safe, but hollow, art dulled. Innovation slowed. Children dreamed smaller dreams. Doom watched the metrics, confused for the first time. Why does morale decline in the absence of danger? He asked his systems. Because fear wasn't the only motivator. Because hope needed faces. Superman stayed away from burning buildings. Wonder Woman ignored battle cries. Flash stopped outrunning tragedy, and the world felt it. Doom addressed humanity directly, his image filling every screen. You are protected, he declared. Your guardians have chosen abdication. You do not need them. But the applause was thinner now. Behind the mask, Doom clenched his fist. Because for the first time, the Justice League wasn't opposing him. They were letting him rule alone. And rule, without heroes to blame, meant responsibility. Real responsibility. Doom turned his gaze to Earth, to a world that was safe, but no longer alive. And for the first time since he crowned himself its savior, Dr. Doom wondered if perfection was missing something essential. What if Dr. Doom realized that ruling a world was easy but inspiring one was impossible? The numbers refused to lie, yet they refused to explain themselves. Dr. Doom stood alone in his vast chamber of calculation, surrounded by holographic continents rotating in flawless equilibrium. Crime remained near zero. Hunger had been reduced to a statistical anomaly. Disease curves flattened into near horizontal lines. By every measurable metric, Earth was thriving. And yet, cultural output declined. Birth rates dipped not from fear or scarcity, but from apathy. Mental health indices showed a quiet, spreading numbness. Suicide rates didn't spike. They plateaued at a low, constant hum, as if despair had been normalized rather than defeated. Doom tightened his grip behind his back. Define hope, he commanded. The system responded with probabilities, psychological studies, neurochemical feedback loops. Inadequate, Doom snapped. Define meaning. Silence. Meaning could not be optimized. On Earth, a small fire broke out in a tenement in Haven. Doom's systems responded instantly. Drones deployed, suppression fields activated, evacuation routes illuminated. Everyone was saved. No injuries, no casualties. And yet the footage went viral not because of relief, but because of what was missing. No hero crashing through smoke. No voice shouting reassurance. No hand pulling someone from the flames. Just machines. Efficient, cold, forgettable. Children stopped wearing capes. Doom observed this too. Elsewhere, Superman hovered above the atmosphere, listening, restraining every instinct, screaming at him to intervene. He heard prayers that weren't desperate but confused. Why doesn't he come anymore? A child asked her mother. The question cut deeper than any weapon. Batman watched from the cave, jaw clenched, knuckles white. The plan was working, but it felt like betrayal. Every second of restraint carved something out of them. Wonder Woman walked among people in plain clothes, unseen, unheard, watching them live safely and emptily. This is the cost, she whispered to herself. even for tyrants. Doom finally did what he had avoided since arriving. He summoned Superman, not as an enemy, not as a subject, as a consultant. They stood together above Earth, blue and green hanging silent between them. "You withdrew," Doom said. "You allowed decay in exchange for autonomy." Superman didn't look at him. "You gave them peace without purpose. Purpose is subjective." "No," Superman replied. "Purpose is chosen." Doom turned, studying him. "Your kind chooses suffering. We choose struggle," Superman said. "There's a difference." For a long moment, Doom said nothing. Then, "If I return authority to you, chaos resumes." "Eventually," Superman said honestly. "But so does growth." Doom looked back at Earth, at a world safe enough to die quietly inside. For the first time, Victor Von Doom felt something unfamiliar pressing against his logic. Doubt, and doubt, in a ruler who claimed perfection, was the most dangerous variable of all. What if Dr. Doom's doubt became the very thing that put the universe at risk? The moment Doom hesitated, something else noticed. It began far beyond Earth, in a place where equations screamed and certainty collapsed. Apocalypse trembled not from rebellion, not from invasion, but from insult. Darkseid stood before the source wall, Omega eyes burning brighter than they had in millennia. "Order without submission," he growled. "A throne without chains." Doom's system had done the impossible. It had reduced suffering without fear, control without worship, and in doing so, it had challenged the one truth Darkseid believed absolute, that all order must kneel. A boom tube tore open above Earth without warning. Cities didn't panic. Doom's systems dampened fear responses, but the sky itself recoiled as Darkseid emerged, flanked by parademans and engines of annihilation that made past invasions look ceremonial. Doom felt it instantly. Not surprise, recognition. "So," Doom said calmly, appearing above Ladvaria's capital, as if the world itself had placed him there. "The god of tyranny arrives to correct a misconception." Darkseid's voice rolled across the planet like judgment. "You rule without despair. That is unacceptable." The Justice League felt it too. Batman's screens lit up crimson. Wonder Woman froze mid-step, ancient memories of war flooding back. Superman closed his eyes. "This wasn't part of the plan," Flash whispered. Batman's voice was tight. "No, this is the consequence." Doom had stabilized Earth so thoroughly that it had become a threat not militarily, but ideologically. A world proving that Darkseid's philosophy was obsolete. And Darkseid would rather burn the universe than allow that idea to spread. The first Omega beam fired not at a city, not at Doom, but at Doom's global network. Reality screamed as optimizations unraveled. Power grids destabilized, shields flickered. The quiet order Doom built began to fracture under godly malice. Doom raised both hands, and for the first time since entering this universe, he asked for help. "Justice League," his voice echoed, stripped of arrogance but not authority. "This is not a conquest. This is extinction. Stand with me or watch existence relearn fear." Batman didn't hesitate. "League, move." Superman launched forward like a sunrise breaking through apocalypse, slamming into Darkseid with force that bent space-time. Wonder Woman followed, blade singing. Green Lanterns across the sector answered the call at last. OA's silence shattered by necessity. And Doom fought like a king defending his crown not of ego, but of responsibility. Magic woven with science. Spells layered with probability engines. He didn't dominate the battlefield. He orchestrated it. Yet even together, even aligned, Darkseid laughed. "You rely on unity," he snarled. "I rely on inevitability." Omega energy surged, tearing through heroes, through systems, through hope itself. Batman realized the truth in that instant. This wasn't a battle Doom had planned for. This was one he had delayed. And now the cost of hesitation was the universe itself. What if the Justice League discovered that, even united, they were still fighting on Doom's battlefield? The sky over Earth split like fractured glass. Darkseid's presence warped gravity itself, his Omega effect lashing out, not as simple beams, but as laws rewritten mid-thought. Green Lantern constructs, shattered as if they had never been imagined. Wonder Woman's blade struck Darkseid's shoulder and stopped, sparks screaming as divine metal met inevitability. Superman slammed Darkseid through 3 layers of atmosphere, driving him into the upper stratosphere with enough force to crack continents. Darkseid barely noticed. He caught Superman by the throat and hurled him back toward Earth like a discarded symbol. Doom's voice cut through the chaos. "Do not engage him directly. You reinforce his myth. Batman skidded across rubble, narrowly avoiding a collapsing tower. Then tell us how to kill a god. Doom raised his hands, glyphs and equations burning into existence around him. You do not kill Darkseid, you invalidate him. Doom's systems flared back to life not as planetary management tools, but as weapons of abstraction. Probability engines recalculated causality. Doom wasn't attacking Darkseid's body. He was attacking the idea that Darkseid must win. Around the battlefield, reality began to misbehave. Omega beams curved away from targets that should not exist. Parademans hesitated mid-charge, suddenly unsure why they were fighting. Even Darkseid paused, brow furrowing. "What have you done?" Darkseid demanded. "I have removed your certainty," Doom replied. "You exist because the universe expects you to. I am teaching it." Doubt. Flash felt it first. The Speed Force no longer screamed danger, it whispered opportunity. He ran not faster, but differently. Threading through moments, Doom's calculations opened for him. Each step fractured inevitability just enough. Wonder Woman rallied the gods who had once hesitated. Zeus returned, hurling lightning not in defiance, but alignment. Magic synchronized with Doom's logic. Ancient power finally given structure instead of pride. Superman rose again, battered but burning brighter than before. "You don't get to decide what the universe believes," he told Darkseid, fists shaking with restrained fury. "We do, together," Darkseid roared, unleashing everything. Omega energy tore across existence, ripping holes in space itself. Doom staggered. For all his preparation, this was the limit. He could bend expectation but not forever. The calculations spiraled, probability collapsing under sheer will. Batman saw it. "Doom," he shouted, "you're running out of time." Doom didn't deny it. Yes, he turned not to his machines, not to his magic but to the Justice League. "I require something I cannot fabricate," Doom said. "Trust." Batman's heart skipped. "What do you need?" Superman asked. Doom hesitated only a fraction of a second. "Control," he said, "and surrender." Because the only way to break Darkseid's inevitability was to risk everything Doom had built. And that meant letting heroes make the final choice. What if the fate of the universe came down to whether the Justice League trusted a tyrant more than a god? The battlefield froze not in time, but in decision. Batman stared at Doom, every instinct screaming contingency, deception, hidden cost. Doom didn't beg, he didn't posture. He simply waited, as if the outcome had already been calculated, and all that remained was whether the variables would comply. "Control and surrender," Batman repeated. "You're asking us to hand you the wheel in the middle of an apocalypse." "Yes," Doom replied, "because if you do not, Darkseid wins by default. He always does." Darkseid laughed, a sound that vibrated through bone and memory. "Listen to him. Even your savior knows submission is inevitable." Superman hovered between them, torn. He had fought gods, monsters, timelines, but this was different. This wasn't about strength, it was about faith, not in ideals, in people, in Victor Von Doom. "If we do this," Superman said slowly, "you don't get to decide what comes after alone." Doom met his gaze. For the first time, there was no steel certainty there, only resolve. "Agreed." That was all Batman needed. "League," he said, voice steady, despite the weight crushing his chest. "Stand down, all of you." Follow his lead. Wonder Woman hesitated, then sheathed her blade. Flash slowed to a stop, heart pounding. Green Lanterns lowered their constructs. Even the gods withdrew, uneasy but watching. Darkseid's smile faded. Doom raised both hands and shut everything down. Every system, every optimization, every safeguard he had layered across Earth and beyond. Power grids flickered. Probability engines went dark. Reality lurched as the universe suddenly remembered what uncertainty felt like. For a terrifying second, Doom was just a man in armor. Darkseid surged forward, Omega energy screaming, and then it failed. Not deflected, not absorbed, failed. The universe, no longer optimized for inevitability, rejected Darkseid's certainty. His power stuttered as causality refused to cooperate. He was no longer guaranteed victory. Flash moved first, threading impossibility. Wonder Woman struck where destiny no longer guided Darkseid's defense. Superman hit him with everything he had, not because it was foretold, but because he chose to. Doom channeled the chaos, not controlling it, but shaping it just enough. Magic, science, will, and hope collided into something unprecedented. Darkseid roared as he was forced back. Omega beams tearing wild holes in space before collapsing inward. A boom tube opened behind him, not by Doom's command, but by the universe's rejection. "This is not over," Darkseid snarled as he was dragged back into the void. "No," Doom replied softly, "but this lesson is." Silence followed. Broken skies healed. Fires died. The universe breathed unevenly, imperfectly. Batman turned to Doom. "You could have kept control." "Yes," Doom said, "and proven Darkseid right." He looked at Earth below, at people afraid again, alive again. "I ruled," Doom continued, "and learned why I should not." Superman approached him, cautious. "What happens now?" Doom removed his mask. Not dramatically, deliberately. "Now," Victor Von Doom said, eyes tired but clear, "I leave this universe better than I found it, and unruled." And with that, the Tyrant Among Gods stepped back, no longer a king, but not forgotten. What if Dr. Doom's departure left a world safe but forever changed? The void Doom left behind was heavier than any battlefield. He didn't vanish with a dramatic explosion. He didn't fly away in triumph. He simply stepped aside, as though the universe itself had expelled him from its frame. One moment he stood among them. The next, only his echo remained, the memory of a presence so commanding, so precise, it had rewritten the rules of possibility. On Earth, people woke to an ordinary morning, unaware that the cosmos had teetered on the edge of absolute control. Children went to school. Trains ran on schedule. Birds still sang in the trees. And yet, beneath the surface, something intangible had shifted. A subtle tension in the air, a reminder that order could arrive not through effort, but through the will of someone who saw everything, knew everything, and corrected it with silent precision. Superman hovered over Metropolis, gazing at the skyline. His cape fluttered in the breeze, but his mind was heavy. He thought of Doom's calm voice, the meticulous way he had weighed every choice, every potentiality. Doom had been a tyrant, yes, but in some ways, more honest than the League ever dared to be. He had wielded power without ego, without lies, without hesitation, and in doing so, he had forced the League to confront the uncomfortable truth. Their heroism, noble as it was, had been predictable, vulnerable, flawed. Batman, standing in the ruins of the Watchtower's war room, reviewed the aftermath. Systems were intact but altered, left just enough to remind them that Doom had been there. Every defense mechanism, every contingency protocol, had been rewritten with subtle improvements. Doom had not destroyed or enslaved them, he had upgraded them in a way no one asked for. And yet, underneath it all, the message was clear. He had tested them, and they had passed not by strength, but by choice. Wonder Woman walked through the Masira, speaking quietly with the Amazon elders. They noticed her unease, the tension in her voice. "He came," Diana admitted. "He saw what we were capable of, and then he left, not as a conqueror, but as a teacher." Flash zipped through the streets of Central City, stopping to watch people laugh, argue, live, without realizing they had been given an impossible gift, a world momentarily shielded from chaos, shaped by the hand of a man who had chosen to care without being asked. Barry couldn't shake the feeling that Doom's absence wasn't peace, it was a challenge, a question left unanswered. How far could humanity go when the scaffolding of inevitability was removed? How much could hope endure when it could not rely on a savior, however brilliant, to dictate outcomes? Even Darkseid, back in his domain, paused. For the first time, he seemed to recognize a universe he could not simply bend with inevitability. Doom had arrived, and in doing so, taught him that there existed forces, even in chaos, that could resist predestination. That lesson, Darkseid realized with a scowl, was dangerous beyond any army. Meanwhile, Doom traveled alone through the void between worlds, not in triumph, not in vengeance, but in contemplation. He had tested gods, challenged heroes, and witnessed the improbable endurance of hope. And though his mask concealed the lines of fatigue, beneath it, Victor Von Doom felt something rare. Respect for unpredictability, for choice, for the flawed, chaotic brilliance of life itself. In the Watchtower, Batman finally spoke to the team. "He didn't defeat us," he said, "but he forced us to reconsider what we protect, and why. And make no mistake, he'll leave an impression that lasts generations." Superman's gaze softened. "We've been challenged by a tyrant who wanted to rule us, and yet, he left us our world. That's almost more terrifying than if he had conquered it." Doom's shadow lingered everywhere, in the silence of empty streets, in the hum of recalibrated systems, in the unspoken question in every hero's mind. What does it mean to protect a world that doesn't needs saving, but still needs guidance? For now, Earth breathed freely, but in the depths of the universe, in the places where probability and order intersected, Doom's presence remained a quiet, unyielding reminder that perfection is a burden, and that sometimes, even the greatest heroes must bow, not to power, but to vision. And somewhere in the stars, Doom whispered to himself, "I will return, but only when they are ready, or when they are not." What if the Justice League realized that Dr. Doom had not truly left, but was watching, calculating, and waiting for the moment the universe faltered again? The watchtower was quiet for the first time in weeks. No alarms, no cascading systems in flux, no urgent signals screaming of cosmic interference. Yet the League felt a presence, faint but unmistakable, not in the sky, not on Earth, but somewhere beyond perception, as though the air itself remembered Doom's authority. Superman was the first to notice it, a ripple in the solar wind, a disturbance in planetary magnetic fields that aligned too perfectly to be natural. "He's still out there," he said, voice low, almost a whisper. "He's always watching." Batman's eyes scanned every screen, every sensor, every subroutine left intact by Doom. "He left us a message," he murmured. "Not words, not threats, instructions." The screens flickered, revealing subtle patterns in global data algorithms, hidden within health systems, traffic grids, even social media trends, patterns designed to predict not only human behavior, but moral choices. "He's still shaping the world," Batman continued, "but not controlling it." Wonder Woman walked silently through the Batcave, eyes narrowed. "He tests us, even now, not with armies, not with magic, but with ideas. He wants to see if we can sustain hope without guidance, or if we will fail under the weight of responsibility." Flash zipped from city to city, noticing anomalies only he could perceive, a near accident avoided by the narrowest of margins, a life saved by coincidence, a system failing just enough to teach improvisation. Each incident was subtle, almost invisible, but Barry recognized Doom's signature immediately: meticulous, deliberate, and impossible to anticipate. Green Lanterns across Earth and beyond reported similar phenomena. Constructs reshaped mid-flight energy signatures, optimized for defense without anyone commanding them, and sudden gravitational corrections that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "He's not here," Hal said, overcomes, "but he's everywhere." Batman finally turned to the team. "He's left us with a paradox, a world too stable to challenge, too orderly to trust, and he's watching every choice we make, waiting to see if we are worthy of it or if we will break it." Superman clenched his fists. "He's forcing us to grow, without fighting. He's made the impossible difficult not through strength, but through restraint." Wonder Woman's eyes glinted. "And yet, that's more dangerous than any army." People forget that a mind that teaches itself to dominate without challenge can be unstoppable when it chooses to act. Cyborg tapped into the watchtower systems, scanning for anomalies left by Doom. "It's like he left fingerprints across reality itself," he said. "Little nudges, adjustments, variables no one else would notice. If he wanted, he could take control again at any moment. But he hasn't. Not yet." Batman's voice dropped to a near whisper, one that carried weight even among gods and metahumans. "Because he isn't here to dominate. He's here to see if we can rule ourselves. And if we fail, he will return." Silence fell over the team. It wasn't fear they felt. It was awareness. The universe had changed. Doom had left, yes, but he had also left them an impossible question. Could humanity, and could they, as heroes, sustain order and hope without a tyrant shaping every outcome? Somewhere beyond the stars, Doom watched, his armor glinting with starlight, and for the first time since leaving, a hint of anticipation touched his gaze. Because even the greatest hero war, the strongest god, can falter when the rules of reality are rewritten without warning. What if the Justice League discovered that Dr. Doom's lesson was only the beginning of a far larger test? The days after Doom's departure passed quietly on the surface, but for the League, nothing felt normal. Every decision, every action, every hesitation seemed magnified, as though invisible eyes followed their every thought. Superman noticed it first, a subtle resistance in the air, a microshift in gravitational flow when he flew, a sense that even time itself was bending slightly around his choices. Batman analyzed patterns that he couldn't explain. Crimes that would normally spiral into chaos were subtly rerouted. Natural disasters corrected themselves before heroes could respond. Even alien signals in deep space realigned as though reality itself had a hidden traffic controller. "This isn't protection," Batman muttered, eyes glued to his screens. "This is observation." Wonder Woman visited Themyscira to consult with the elders. She noticed minor changes in the island's mystical defenses, alterations too precise to be random. "He's still teaching," she said quietly, realizing the truth. Even in absence, Doom guides the world's outcomes, not by force, but by design. Flash experienced the strangest sensation of all. Instinct itself seemed skewed. His reactions were faster, but always nudged toward specific outcomes. It wasn't control but subtle manipulation. Small choices, seemingly inconsequential, began aligning toward a pattern. And when he tried to act unpredictably, he felt resistance, almost like the universe itself was whispering, "Do better." Cyborg discovered the most alarming anomaly. Hidden within Earth's infrastructure, and even the watchtower systems were microconstructs embedded with Doom's code, self-evolving programs that weren't running on computers, magic, or alien technology alone, but on a combination of all three. "It's like he left behind a shadow of himself," Cyborg said grimly. "A blueprint for, well, something we haven't even seen yet." Superman gathered the League atop the watchtower's observation deck. "He didn't just leave to test us," he said. "He left to see if the world could survive without him actively managing it. And right now, that's the real battlefield." Batman added, "Everything he built, every adjustment he made, it's an ongoing experiment. And we're both the participants and the variables." Wonder Woman's eyes narrowed. "We've fought gods, monsters, and cosmic disasters, but Doom's test, it's subtler, and in many ways, more dangerous, because it attacks our principles, not our bodies." Flash spoke up, voice tight. "So what happens if we fail? If we make a wrong choice?" Batman's gaze was cold, measured, unflinching. "Then he returns, and I promise you, it won't be to teach anymore." For a moment, silence filled the room. The world below moved on in blissful ignorance, unaware that the tiniest decisions, the split-second choices of leaders, of everyday people, were now part of a larger equation. Doom had left behind not just guidance, but a challenge that would stretch across years, decades, perhaps generations. Somewhere in the void, Victor Von Doom observed. He didn't intervene. He didn't interfere. He merely waited, his armor catching starlight as his eyes tracked Earth with calculated patience. Every fluctuation in the human condition, every heroic or flawed choice, was fed into his systems. And somewhere deep within him, Doom felt a rare emotion, curiosity. Because Doom had never simply wanted control. He wanted proof that the universe could survive, without him dictating its every move. And the League, for all their power, had only just begun to realize the weight of that test. What if Dr. Doom's lesson extended beyond heroes, reaching every corner of humanity? As the days turned into weeks, the League began noticing subtler effects, not just in major crises, but in the everyday decisions of people around the globe. Small innovations, acts of courage, unexpected alliances, things that should have been chaotic or improbably were happening more frequently. Almost as if Doom had rewritten the probability curves for the better. Yet it wasn't entirely smooth. With order came rigidity. Society was thriving, yes, but a quiet stagnation settled in. Artists struggled to create work that moved anyone. Inventors grew frustrated when every invention was prematurely optimized by market or circumstance. And even leaders were paralyzed by perfection. They could predict outcomes, but could not act freely without inadvertently undermining themselves. Superman flew across Earth, observing these patterns. "He's making the world safe," he admitted quietly to Wonder Woman as they flew. Over a city that had once been war-torn but now hummed with calm efficiency. "But it's not alive. He's cured the chaos, but also the spontaneity." Doom didn't just protect humanity. He's rewriting what it means to be human. Batman had already pieced together what was happening. "Every decision the world makes, every free choice is being subtly guided," he said. "Projecting Doom's hidden systems across the Batcave holoscreens. We aren't just fighting the remnants of his influence. We're reliving in the shadow of it. And if we don't adapt, if the world leans too hard on his optimization, Doom's vision becomes inevitable. Humanity becomes predictable, repeatable, safe, but lifeless." Wonder Woman's eyes darkened. "He is teaching more than the League. He's teaching everyone. And we are all complicit because we did not oppose him directly when we had the chance." Flash zipped past, frustration evident even in his hyperspeed movements. So he's turned the entire planet into a classroom. And where the final exam? Cyborg's voice cut in overcomes, precise but tinged with concern. There are anomalies in his system, not mistakes, but puzzles, tests. He's leaving gaps, things humans can influence that even his calculations couldn't predict. He's watching, waiting to see if we exploit them or fail to notice them at all. Batman turned to the team, his voice quiet but commanding. This isn't just about protecting the world anymore. It's about teaching it to survive without a savior. Doom doesn't want to rule us. He wants to see if we are capable of ruling ourselves. Without breaking, Superman clenched his fists. Then we'll prove him wrong. Not by following his rules, but by showing him the chaos of hope, of choice, of humanity's resilience. Doom, somewhere in the void, observed silently. He did not intervene. He did not correct. He only fed new variables into his calculations and waited. For the first time in centuries, Victor Von Doom had a question with no immediate answer. Would humanity and the heroes sworn to protect rise above the perfection he had crafted? Or would they crumble, proving his vision inevitable? And in that uncertainty lay the true test. What if Dr. Doom's challenge forced the Justice League to confront the fragility of their own ideals? The League gathered in the Watchtower, the hum of Earth's systems around them, a constant reminder of Doom's lingering presence. It wasn't just that the world was stable, it was that every decision they made seemed muted, filtered, as though life itself had learned to comply without effort. And that terrified them more than any alien invasion ever could. Superman paced the observation deck, gaze fixed on the horizon. We've faced monsters, tyrants, gods, even timelines collapsing. But this is different. Doom isn't attacking. He's reshaping the rules. And we're trapped inside his design. Batman leaned against the console, hands steepled. Every moral choice we've ever made, every hesitation to save a life, every compromise for the greater good, it's all part of his blueprint. He's forcing us to confront the consequences of heroism itself. Wonder Woman's sword rested at her side, though she didn't unsheath it. He's testing whether we can endure perfection, whether humanity can flourish without struggle, without challenge, without sacrifice. And the League, we can't solve this with power, only with choice. Flash's voice trembled, rare in its vulnerability. So, what do we do? If we intervene, we disrupt the balance he's created. If we don't, people stagnate. They're safe, but they're not alive. Cyborg's fingers danced across the Bat-computer interface. He left anomalies, gaps in his system, minor imperfections, things humans can influence that even his calculations couldn't predict. That's our way in. That's our leverage. Batman's eyes narrowed. He wants us to fail or succeed, based on whether we act according to instinct, not logic. He's removed all room for error, except where it matters most, human agency. And if we hesitate, we'll lose more than just battles, we'll lose purpose. Superman clenched his fists, jaw tight. Then we don't hesitate, we act, even if it means defying doom, even if it means risking everything. Humanity is meant to make mistakes. That's what makes it strong. Wonder Woman nodded. Then we guide, not control. We protect, not dictate. And we trust that people our world can rise above the safety he engineered. Suddenly, the Watchtower trembled. Not violently, but subtly, as though responding to a pulse emanating from deep space. A holographic figure materialized. It wasn't Doom but a projection, an echo of his voice. Calm, measured, precise. You understand the stakes, it said. And yet you will always fear that your choices are insufficient. That is good. That is necessary. For hope thrives only when it is tested. Superman stepped forward. Then we'll prove you wrong. Not by following your plan, but by showing you the chaos of life, the value of struggle, the strength of choice. The projection flickered, almost smiling beneath its metallic facade. Then let the experiment continue. I will watch and learn. For the first time, the outcome is not dictated by perfection, but by will. And in that moment, the Justice League realized the war was no longer about stopping a tyrant. It was about defending the essence of humanity itself, against even the most brilliant mind the universe had ever known. What if the Justice League discovered that victory wasn't about strength, speed, or magic, but about inspiring the world to act despite uncertainty? Weeks passed, and the League began to notice subtle changes in the people they protected. Citizens no longer waited for heroes to intervene. Instead, they acted. Firefighters took more calculated risks. Communities organized to prevent disasters before they happened. Scientists solved problems that had long seemed insurmountable. Humanity wasn't perfect, but it was alive, imperfectly alive. Superman observed from the sky over Metropolis, eyes scanning the bustling streets below. Children played in safe parks, inventors tinkered in workshops, and people helped one another without waiting for guidance. This is what Doom wanted, isn't it? He asked quietly. Not obedience, but sacrifice. He's teaching them, forcing them to rise on their own. Batman stood in the Batcave, reviewing reports from around the globe. Yes, but he's also watching for failure. Every decision, every act of courage or folly is a variable in his calculations. Doom isn't gone, he's merely the unseen teacher, testing if humanity can flourish without being coddled by perfection. Wonder Woman visited cities across the world, disguised among the people. She saw courage in unexpected places. A teenager helping strangers evacuate a collapsing building. A small village stopping an outbreak of disease before it spread. A scientist risking her career to reveal a truth that could save millions. Hope, Diana whispered, is not his to grant. It belongs to them. And that is why he fears it. Flash raced from city to city, testing his own limits, discovering that even his speed had new boundaries imposed by Doom's subtle guidance. He left us room to act, Barry said, but he's counting on us failing. If we can't rise, the whole experiment collapses. Cyborg analyzed signals from satellites and networks worldwide. Hidden threads of Doom's design were everywhere. But they were no longer rigid frameworks. They were suggestions, not mandates. Humanity had space to choose, space to err, space to grow. He's giving them freedom, Cyborg said, awe in his voice. In a way, it's brilliant and terrifying. Batman finally gathered the League in the Watchtower. We've learned everything we can from his systems. The rest is up to us and them. We guide, we protect, but we do not impose. That's the lesson Doom refused to learn until now. Control cannot create true resilience. Superman nodded. Then we inspire, not dictate. We fight not with fists or beams, but with example, with hope, with humanity. Doom, watching from the void between worlds, did not intervene. He simply observed, the faintest trace of curiosity in his eyes. For the first time, he could not predict every outcome. Humanity and the League were no longer variables to be optimized. They were forces unto themselves. And in that uncertainty, the universe found its greatest strength. Imperfect, fragile, and unpredictable, but alive. The Justice League understood, finally. Victory was never about defeating Doom. It was about proving that choice, courage, and hope could thrive even in the shadow of perfection. What if the Justice League realized that Dr. Doom's greatest legacy was NT domination, but awakening the world to its own power? The sky above Earth was calm. No cosmic storms, no warnings, no alarms. The world hummed with ordinary life, but beneath the surface, something extraordinary had taken root. Humanity had begun to act with intention, with courage, with the understanding that it could shape its own destiny. And the Justice League had learned the same lesson. Superman stood on the edge of a rooftop in Metropolis, looking down at the bustling streets below. For years, he had been the symbol of hope, the protector who could lift mountains and stop meteors. But now, he realized, true hope didn't come from invulnerability. It came from choice, from struggle, from the willingness to act, even when the outcome wasn't guaranteed. Batman joined him, silent as always, but his eyes betrayed understanding. Doom left us more than a world. He left a question. Could humanity survive on its own? And could we guide them without controlling them? Wonder Woman descended from the clouds, her presence commanding yet gentle. We've answered it, she said. Not perfectly, not without mistakes, but with courage. And that is what he wanted us to see. The power of action, the weight of responsibility, the inevitability of choice. Flash zipped down, skidding to a stop beside them, grin on his face despite the tension. You know what's funny? For all his planning, Doom never accounted for one thing. Superman raised an eyebrow. And what's that? Us, Barry said simply. The League, imperfect, unpredictable, and stubborn enough to act anyway. Cyborg activated a display, showing subtle distortions in the fabric of Doom's former influence. The systems he left behind, he said, aren't enforcing control anymore. They're inert. He's withdrawn completely. The test is over. And yet, I have a feeling he's still watching. Somewhere. Batman nodded, lips tight. He will be, but that doesn't matter. We're no longer playing on his terms. We're playing on ours. Superman turned to the horizon, the sun reflecting in his eyes. The world isn't perfect, it will never be perfect, but it's alive, and we've learned that even a tyrant, even a mind as brilliant as Doom, can't replace the human spirit. Wonder Woman raised her sword skyward, but not in aggression, rather as a signal, a promise. We protect what must be protected, but we do not impose. We guide, and we trust. Across the universe, Victor Von Doom observed. From the void, he watched Earth thrive not by his perfection, but by the choices of its inhabitants, flawed and unpredictable. For the first time in centuries, Doom did not calculate outcomes, did not adjust probabilities. He simply allowed the experiment to unfold. And as he stepped back into the shadows between worlds, one thought lingered in his mind. The most powerful force in the universe was not logic, nor technology, nor magic. It was choice, the chaos of free will, the courage to act, even when the odds were against you. Doom had arrived as a tyrant among gods. He had left as a witness to humanity's resilience. The Justice League, standing together, looked out over the world they had fought, not just to protect, but to empower. Imperfect, unpredictable, alive. And in that moment, the universe exhaled. The battle was over, the lesson was learned, and the shadow of Dr. Doom would linger forever, not as a conqueror, but as a reminder that even the most brilliant mind could not replace the strength of will. The end.